to another edition of Sit Down with Wes and Woody. This is only the second of 4, Wes, Woody, so it's not going to go on forever. I am your host, Ed Braun, and today's show is going to be awesome. I'm sure you're all familiar with the movie Something in the Woods. I have not only the director, but also the lead character in the movie, Mr. David Ford. Hey, David, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How you doing, Ed?
I'm doing great, man. Listen, thanks for coming on the show and talking about the movie. I got to tell you, man, I was so impressed with this movie when I found out what your budget was. I was impressed already, but when I found out what your budget was, I was even more impressed. It's amazing.
Thank you.
How did you pull that off? How did you pull off a Hollywood quality production with a $1,200 budget?
Well, basically what I had to do is call in some favors, and, even though we only had about $1,200 cash, it doesn't mean that's what the movie's worth. That's just what we had to work with.
Sure.
Because we had the set catered every day, with food, and if you do 3 meals a day for 30 people, for almost 3 weeks, well, I mean, who knows how much money that would cost. So we got that donated to us. We had a lot of things donated that really cost a lot of money. For instance, the suit. Travis Driver graciously donated his time and effort into this suit, and hopes that one day, if the film makes the budget back, that we'll compensate him for that. So, but that suit itself, I think just in supplies and materials, I think he spent well over $2,000 or $3,000, and and that's not counting his labor into it. So there's a lot of high production value in this film, other than just what we had in cash.
Sure.
But you got to get people involved, and that's what I did, man. I asked people if they wanted to be involved, and I told everybody on the set that it was a deferred pay project, and not to expect any kind of money from this film unless somehow one day that it made money, and they all signed a contract. So, and I'm not going to lie, I've had some people come back and say, when are we going to get paid? When are we going to get paid? And I was like, when the movie makes the money, when it hits the mark, it costs a lot of money to market the film. And so
sure.
I'm starting to chase a rabbit, so I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, that's good. That's good. I mean, and I don't, you don't have to give me numbers, or that might be kind of personal. I don't know, but how has the movie done? I mean, are you happy with the sales so far? I mean, because I know a lot of people have seen it. I know a lot of people who have loved it, and I know a lot of people who have supported it and really pushed it and talked about it a lot. So, I mean, how are you feeling about where the movie is now?
Well, I feel pretty good because, it's an indie film, and we don't have some big, gigantic budget to do national advertising. I mean, we're mainly pushing Facebook ads and some other things. I'm not over that, and my partner Stuart Miller is over that. Mm-hmm. But he's going outside of stuff that I don't even know about, and he's actually trying to make deals right now with Walmart and some other companies. But it's a long, drawn out process, especially when you're unknown. But I think since July, which was when the film actually released online, I think we're up to like $25,000 with rentals and online purchases of the film since July, and I think it's really good for a film that has no known actors and just starting out. A lot of our production company's first feature film, and we expect those numbers to grow. The DVD sales have done well. A lot of people think we're just rolling in the dough from the DVD sales, but that's not the case. What's happening with those DVD sales is that money is going into the marketing of the film, which is why we're sitting at, the VOD sales of around $25,000 right now, because it takes money to make money and pushing stuff,
Sure. Well, I've actually saw the movie a couple times now, and I had an opportunity as one of the co-founders of the International Bigfoot Conference, which was in Kennewick, Washington, over Labor Day weekend. And we actually played the movie there, and Stuart was there, he's gonna shoot me when I forgot his name. The other gentleman that came up there with him.
Lee Kelly.
Lee Kelly, yes, Lee. Sorry, Lee. But but Lee Kelly and Stuart came up, and they were awesome. They were great. They signed autographs. They talked to people after the showing of the film. We gave them a booth. They were so gracious with their time. They made sure they talked to everybody who wanted to talk to them, and I don't know how they did, but I think they seemed like they did pretty well, and hopefully they were happy with that, because we were definitely honored to show it. The movie itself. Now you also you directed the movie. You played the lead character in the movie. What other roles did you have in this as well?
Well, I did write the movie also.
Really?
So that's, and I played the producer also on the side. I mean, I helped get this thing. I mean, I helped get the food and stuff, along with Mike Hall. I'm not taking credit for that. I had Mike Hall by my side as a producer on this film, and I also can't take full credit in directing the film, because Tony Gibson, and I know a lot of movies don't have two directors, and people are like, I don't get it. Who directed the film? But really, both of us did direct this film. I mean, there were times that I was behind the camera, I'm in front of the camera so much that I needed his creative eye, and so he jumped in there for me. And there were times that I directed stuff that he wasn't around. So, I mean, it is co-directed by both. And I'm not going to say one did more than the other. I'm not going to say that. Some other people might, but I'm definitely not going to say that, because all in all, I mean, it was my project. I mean, I birthed it and brought it into existence and brought everybody on board. But I also can't take the credit for it all either. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Because I have a lot of help.
Kind of goes back to the old saying, it takes a village to raise a child, and I guess this is your child, right?
Yes, it is. And, and I'm going to be honest, I'm happy with the way it turned out. I wish we wouldn't have been rushed. I wish a lot of more things could have happened. I think it could have been even better in quality. But, what we had to work with is what we had to work with. And the whole point of that film is to show people what you can do with a little bit and make something happen. Some people ream us on reviews and stuff, and some people love it. And I made the mistake of starting to read a lot of those reviews when I first started coming out, because, I mean, I had some hate mail. Somebody told me I should never make a movie again, and I should, go kill myself or something like that. But you know what? I know they wouldn't say that to my face, because, if you know me, you're just not going to do that to me. But but also, I look at it this way. I don't care if the whole world hates that movie. If one person out of the world loves the movie, then I've done my job as a filmmaker. I've entertained one person. And there's a lot of people that love it. And, I get more love emails and fan mails that people who like the movie than I have who have not liked the movie,
Sure. Well, I can tell you this, over the last almost a year, I've talked to a lot of people who have seen the movie, and I have not heard one bad comment about the movie at all. Not one. Everybody seems to be impressed. They love the movie. Now when you wrote it based on actual events. Tell us a little bit about that, because I know when I talked to Mike Hall about the movie, I had him on the show a while back, and we talked about it. And he said, "Well, it's not really based on a true story." And I was a little confused about that, so maybe you can clear that up for me. So the movie was written kind of because of a true event. How did that come about?
Well, this is kind of how that came about. I started researching and looking at Bigfoot reports, mainly from the BFRO and, some from the TexasWood8.org. I just started reading all these reports, right? And I was like, I got to find a reporter, that would make a good movie. And I came across several that I thought would make a good movie. And some of them were just kind of out of my range of budget. So I was like, I got to do something within a budget, that I can do locally. And I came across the Cowman of Coppola's Beach story, and that started shaping my vision for the story. Now, I also came across the Ruby Creek incident story, and that also played into the film. And when I say inspired by true events, it depends if you believe those reports of the people who wrote those reports, But they apparently believed those reports, or they wouldn't have submitted them. So that's why I say it's inspired, because all those events culminated, inspired me to write it based on those events. That's why when I first wrote it, I was like, based on a true story, and somebody says, no, unless it's actually based on an actual full story, you need to say inspired. So I learned a little lesson there, so it's inspired.
Right.
Can I give you a case in point on something?
Yeah.
And you may not know this at all, but for the longest time in my life, I believed that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre story was a true story. And they even spouted it as a true story. But I wanted to know as I got older and the Internet came alive if that was really true. So I started doing some digging. And case in point, it is not a true story, and that was actually based upon that guy, what was his name, Ed Gein, in wherever up north, where he cut off people's faces and wear them and all that kind of stuff. But those filmmakers, when they got a hold of that story and say, what if there was a guy who did that in Texas? You know, maybe he did it. Maybe he had a chainsaw. So they started brainstorming, but they still put like inspired by a true story. So it made everybody think it was true, including myself. But and mine's closer to the truth than their story was, because mine's actually based on the Cowman and Ruby Creek and some other stuff, you know.
Sure. And I can tell you that there were actually 3 characters in really famous movies that were based on Ed Gein, who was, I think it was Wisconsin, where he would dig up bodies and cut their skin off. It's just a crazy, crazy guy, but he was real. But the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was one, Leatherface. Wild Bill Cody, I think his name was, in Jodie Foster movie with the moth over the face.
Silence of the
Lambs, yes. And, what's his name from Psycho, or not? Norma Bates. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. I like that you use that premise, and I like how you did that, because, and you're absolutely right. There are some people out there who believe that story, so it is theoretically and accurately based on or inspired by an actual event. So I think that's pretty well put. I like the way you did that.
Thank you.
What made you choose Bigfoot? Because you could have chosen any topic you wanted. I mean, this could have been a comedy. You know, who knows? I mean, you could have made anything you wanted. What was the inspiration for using Bigfoot?
Well, you know, I did write a Bigfoot comedy. It's called Bigfoot Must Die, and I still want to try to get that out there one day. It's just a bigger budget film. It's almost like Harry and the Hendersons, but it's totally different plot. But that's definitely a comedy. And it kind of has the same kind of comedy as, you know, Something About Mary kind of comedy in it, but not like vulgar comedy, but that same style. But the reason I came up with this one is because, it's kind of a long story. I'll make it short. My first movie ever made I made it in Waco, called Preacher Man, and had some legal issues there. I learned a valuable lesson, which is always sign a contract, always have somebody sign a contract. And so I pretty much shot a movie that was scrapped, which, you know, we did it in like 3.5 weeks, but still, you know, 16-hour days for 3.5 weeks, all for nothing. And so I learned a lesson. I was like, I will not be defeated. I came back like the next year. It's like, I'm going to make another one, and this time I'm going to make everybody sign a contract. You know, nobody can come back and say I owe them all this money. And so that's what we did. That's why I went to everybody on set, and they probably got tired of me saying, like, did you sign a contract? You did sign a contract, right? And so I covered my tail there, and I was like, I wanted to make something that had a target audience, and I don't know what caused me to do this, but one day I was a teacher at the time, and I was, you know, on my conference period, so I was looking at some Bigfoot stuff. You know, I think that's a time when all that Bigfoot hoax came about. You know, about the frozen body or something.
Yeah.
And so I just started researching it myself, and I didn't realize there's so many reports. I knew nothing about Bigfoot creatures at the time, and then I found out that there was a hot spot in Texas, and then it really got my attention when I realized I lived in that hot spot, and I found a report where somebody had 2 different reports where people had spotted this type of creature within 2 miles of where I live. And like in 1996, and one was like in 1998. And so it really got my attention, so I wanted to know. And so as I dove further into the research, I was like, I wanted to watch a movie. I was like, I want to watch a movie on something that's based on real research, and I couldn't find one except for The Legend of Boggy Creek, 1972. And that's when it hit me. There needs to be a Bigfoot film made that's based on real research, on reports, targeted to the Bigfoot community and people who have seen these things, you know. So, and that's Something in the Woods was born.
Awesome. So when you did your casting, I mean, how did you select who would play the roles? I mean, did you already know all these guys? Did you work with them before, or was it a process just like any other film?
This is probably the first film that didn't actually have auditions, which is crazy. But it happened so quickly that I just kind of went to my acting friends that I knew that would help me out. There was a couple of people that came on that I didn't know that were referred by others, and you know, I was like, okay, if they're willing to do it and sign a contract, you know, bring them on. Just let them know this is not a paying gig, and so that kind of is how that played out. So I mean, there's not a whole lot of characters in it, but so the ones that are in, I knew most of them. I knew probably at least 95% of the characters already, you know.
That's awesome. That's good. I mean, it sounds like you kind of drew from the well, if you will, you know, the well of friends that you have, and obviously, in order to put a production like this together, it takes a lot of people from even behind the scenes. I mean, I know it's funny. What I noticed was a lot of the actors were also portraying behind the scene roles as well. You know, producers and the list goes on and on. I mean, I think that's great. I mean, you guys were able to pull it off in that fashion. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of people had to wear many hats on board, and I like Peyton Pierce. You know, the guy that he started off as just a guy that was going to do B-roll footage, and we started using a lot of his stuff as the main, A-camera footage. We just found out that he was a very talented young man, and then I realized that he could score, and that he could score a film, and that he could create his own music, and that he could also edit. And I was like, wait a second, you're only like 19 years old. How do you know this? People go to film school and, you know, go to 4 or 5 years of school to get this knowledge, and you're like a master at it. How do you know? And he just casually, I just, you know, taught myself. And so you know, Peyton was a brilliant find, and I want to keep that young man in my back pocket for my future films. I'm going to use him again on Sense of Urgency when it scores. You know, I'm going to use him on that.
Good.
But there's a lot of people. My point is that wore a lot of hats. Even Tony Gibson, who helped me direct, he also played the role of Carl. But he also did a lot of the lighting, and he was over what you call grips, and you know, had his little crew telling people move that light there, move that light there. So a lot of people just jumped on board and really helped out.
Awesome. Now, he was the one that played the role, the guy you got in a fight with in the diner. Is that correct?
Yeah, the long-haired, hippie-looking guy.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say that, Dave.
I know he's going to listen to this, so I know you'll get a kick out of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did a great job. I mean, the entire thing. And I know I've said this before, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm, you know, praying to you guys, but man, you guys, I mean, you really did a great job, and I love the way you brought in people that were okay with not only doing what they're there to do, but to also do other things as needed, and what they were, you know, use their knowledge to help put this incredible movie together. I mean, I just think it's amazing, and I you know, you should be applauded for that. That's awesome.
I appreciate it. And it's been an adventure. It's been fun traveling the country to Bigfoot conferences and showing the film and signing autographs and having people treat you like, you know, you're just some famous movie star when you're actually just nobody. But but you know, it's fun to meet people and to see people entertained.
Sure. Now I'm looking on your Facebook as we speak here, and I noticed a picture and is that Brian Impey? And I gotta say this. He's in. I think I saw a picture of you with Brian Impey, but I don't see it at the moment. But Brian Impey, he's been a friend of mine for a long time on Facebook, and I noticed he was in the diner during the fight scene. He was also in the church, I believe he said. But he said that when he turned around, he said the way you guys did it, it wasn't like the fight was going on then. You just kind of edited him turning around and making this face and then everything. I mean, tell us kind of what it goes into making a scene. I guess that's kind of where I'm getting at, but having him tell us about how he turned around and there was no fight going on, but it was during the fight scene. It was just kind of neat. Tell us how you generally put a scene together.
Well, the process is it's never what people think. That know nothing about like filmmaking in general. Like a lot of people think you shoot movies straight through. Sometimes you just shoot the middle first, the end first, and the first last.
Like me.
It's because you got to go based on cost and what's easy, the best way, the quickest way to do something, the most efficient way to do something. And for example, in the cafe scene, there were like 3 different things going on in that one scene. First, we had to have the family sitting down eating at the table, so we filmed that first. Then we filmed the fight scene, and then we come back and get what we call the crowd reaction shots. Different people's reactions. So he was like a featured extra reaction shot.
Sure.
And the funny thing about Brian, I didn't know him then. He was just an extra to me. I had no clue who he was or anything.
Right.
And we had to do a scene right after that on my uncle's land, at the camp. So we drove out there, caravanned out there, and we get there and all this, and I look, and that same guy that was in the cafe scene's like there with the little kid, he's in his tie and stuff, and I'm like, who's this guy? I was like, I know he's not in this scene. And he's like, man, I didn't know if I was supposed to follow you or not. And we just kind of laughed together. And he said, if you don't mind, I'd like to stay and watch. I was like, sure. But then me and Brian became good friends. He's a important figure in the Bigfoot community. He supported us on everything that we've done. He's advertised for us. He's promoted us. And so Brian is one man that I'm very glad I got a chance to meet.
Yeah. He is definitely a class act, and he told me the stories. I think he got lost. I think he said on the way he took a wrong turn or something. And I don't know if I can't remember how the story went, but he was telling me something about that. It was kind of funny, but he is a good guy. And I remember actually that's where I first heard about the movie is from Brian. So he did his job.
Yeah, he did. He was pivotal.
Yes. So tell me, David, about a scene that really you felt was critical to the movie that you were in. Something very memorable. What scene would be your favorite or most memorable scene?
Well, think about that.
I should have sent you a list of questions, shouldn't have I?
Well, one thing that was kind of, I don't know if this is my favorite scene, but it was a challenge, I guess, because of where we were. And to kind of show the Bigfoot without showing his face and stuff, which, when it stands up and runs through the field, to me, there was just a lot of challenges that day. It was very, very hot. Remember, we shot this in the dead heat of the summer, and the guy in that suit was burning up. We had to have ice packs, and trying to, kind of where we were shooting, it was kind of not what I had anticipated. I was wanting more thicket. And if you notice, there's a lot of open area there. And I was like, how are we going to suddenly show the Bigfoot just appear?
Right.
But that was a challenging scene for me, and I really crossed my fingers hoping it would turn out right in post-production, especially with running out of time. And it was one of those productions where if you get behind, you're in trouble, So we tried to stay on task. But, that, and also when the kid's riding, Caleb is riding his bike after he drops off the girl, and he hears all these noises. And another challenging scene, we needed to let the audience hear what he was hearing and these heavy footsteps without seeing the creature, except for when he was shaking the tree, of course. Right. But so at that point, we didn't want him to know that the Bigfoot was out there. We just wanted him to wonder something was out there and what no pig,
Sure.
you know?
Right.
I hope that answers your question.
Oh, yeah. But, and actually that leads me to another question, which I wasn't going to ask, but it's actually, where did you find that bike? I haven't seen a two-seater bike in forever.
That was actually a bike that I grew up on. And,
really?
yeah. So I just got it out the shop and, you know, it was all rusty, and I slapped a coat of paint on it and got some tires for it. I thought, you know, this would be cool to have this in the film because I grew up riding that with a friend, and so it wasn't much to do where I grew up. So we'd ride that. We actually lived off the Blacktop Road, and we'd ride that and take our fishing stuff. We had a basket on it, and we'd put our fishing stuff in it and hold our poles and try to ride that bike. But yeah, and I sold that bike after the film because somebody called me up and really wanted it. And I knew I would never ride that bike again. So I just figured if somebody really wants it, that they wanted to put it in their house or something. I was like, oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to take care of it. I'll give it to you. And so, anyways, I sold it.
That is really cool. Now, in fact, that's another segue into another one. You had not only a period-dated bike, but you also had a lot of period-dated vehicles. Now, on your budget, how do you manage to fill up the streets with, you know, that year cars?
Well, me and Mike one day was just walking around to people that had classic cars and trying to find people with classic cars and talking to them, and we wasn't having any luck. But just so happened that in the city of Marshall, right next to Jefferson, they were having a classic car show. And Mike says, let's go talk to some folks. It's like, okay. But it's kind of hard for me to just walk up and start talking to people. Then it was. I'm a little bit more open now. But Mike would just run over there talking, you know, different people. He has to get the gab.
Yeah.
And so he ended up that's pretty much Mike got those cars for us. So I was really impressed because I didn't think we were going to get any at first. And Mike said, have faith. They call me Magic Mike, and I'll tell you what. But he was right. You know, he got some classic cars.
Right. Well, job well done, and that was nice to kind of just find out there's a classic car show right there in the city next to where you're filming. That works out really, really well. All right.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we're going to move on now to what everybody I'm sure is waiting to hear about, blooper reel. Did you make a blooper reel?
We have some scenes and stuff. Of course, you know, anytime you're filming a movie, people are going to mess up and stuff. We do have that. We've never edited it and put it together just because of time constraints.
Sure.
So there will never be a blooper reel, I'm sad to say. But we do have, what I'm trying to have put together is we have about 45 minutes of behind-the-scenes stuff with some interviews and, you know, showing the creature in the barn, just showing us make the movie.
Sure.
And I'm hoping to put that out on like a special DVD kind of deal with bonus footage. I don't know when that will be out. You know, we're also going to include the screening at Ohio Bigfoot Conference in that, and just our journey. It's pretty much our journey, you know, and it condensed down to about 45 minutes. And we're going to try to. I'm going to try to include at least one scene that was deleted or not put in there. We're going to try to have one scene in that also. So
good. I tell you what, you send me the bloopers, and I'll put together that blooper reel for you. All right, that would just be that'd be fun. That'd be hilarious.
Yes, it would.
So, David, I know you've been doing this obviously for a while. You know, you're what other movies have you done? Is there anything else that we would be familiar with? I mean, in the Bigfoot community, or the paranormal, or anything? I mean, is there anything that we would be familiar with?
Well, I've actually, before I made Something in the Woods, I worked on somebody else's film called Boggy Creek, and but I wasn't an actor in that really. I mean, I guess I was. I was one of the creatures in the suit, and so you wouldn't recognize me. But you had like 3 different people playing the creature, and I just played one of them, And so that's about the only other Bigfoot film that I did. There was another one I actually had one small scene in called Skookum, and I think they're still trying to get that out in production, and they ran into some editing problems, but I think they're trying to clear that up now. But anyways, I was in one scene in that film. And yeah, I've been in a lot of films, and most of the films I've been in are like straight to DVD. I've not been in anything like studio-wise, but I have been in probably almost, 11 or 12 films altogether.
Awesome. Now, Skookum is the Mike Woolley story, if I'm not mistaken. I did talk to him and Debbie King a while back. They were awesome. They were great. And I know that I didn't know that they'd run into any issues, but hopefully they get that taken care of. I think that sounds like it's going to be a really good movie as well. So it'd be fun to watch that one too. Boggy Creek, is that who made that movie? I got a couple names in mind, but I don't want to say the wrong one.
Brian James directed that film. Okay. Boggy Creek, and it's more like just like a horror film, and but they have their following too.
Sure.
And so
I get one of the names in my head, so I will. I'll hold off. I'm glad I asked because I didn't want to say the wrong name, but I've been known to do that.
Yeah, and I had fun working on that film. In one scene in particular, I had to grab a girl's ankle and start dragging her off in the suit. But the problem was the hand was so puffy, I couldn't, it's like constant, like if you had a tennis ball in your palm and trying to grab something, like somebody's leg, I couldn't get a grip. Right. And so we didn't, and it looked like I was just weak. It's like, you can't grab her ankle and drag her. I was like, you don't understand. I can't grab, I can't get a grip on it. And so I was like, the only way I'm able to do it is to tie like a little rope on her hand, around her ankle or to my wrist, and I can just start, make it look like I'm dragging her off.
Sure.
And we did it, and it worked, and she was a trooper, even though it bruised her ankle pretty good.
Well, at least she, yeah, you're right. She's a trooper. She pulled through. Yeah. That's really a good movie too. And you're working on, I guess are you still filming, or did you just film Sense of Urgency?
Yes, I filmed that in July, and it's currently in a post-production process, going through the editing phase, and we're actually trying to raise a little bit of money to pay the editor.
Right.
So we still owe a debt there. So, but he is editing, and we hope to raise the funds very quickly. We've also launched a thing on Facebook recently, just like a couple of days ago, called Space Launcher. So if anybody wants to help, that would be very much appreciated. And there's perks to helping, and I believe that's going to be a little bit better quality film because we had a little bit more funds to work with. People actually auditioned for this film, and it's a good story. It's not a Bigfoot story, but it's still a film with a powerful message in it that I think is going to open doors also in my career and others.
Now, are you starring in this one as well?
Yes, I'm not the lead character, though. I play a supporting character, and I play the bad guy. So,
well, I'm looking at this photo of Sense of Urgency, and there's a pretty blonde with blue lipstick, and there's a guy with his arm around her with a gun to her head. I mean, is that you standing there?
That's me.
That is you, okay. Yeah, you play a bad guy, so we'll definitely have to watch for that one as well. Sense of Urgency, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure and tell them again where they can go to see that at.
Well, right now, the only thing we have Sense of Urgency is a Facebook page. I mean, we don't have a website. I mean, it's just came out of production like in July, so
sure.
We're just trying to, I guess, get all that together and then start promoting it. But if they go on the Facebook page and like the page, they can look at some behind-the-scenes photos and kind of keep up with it.
Sure. Yeah, I should probably rephrase that. I don't mean go see the movie. So, guys, the movie's not out yet. You can't go see the movie. But you can go to Sense of Urgency Facebook page and at least see what's going on and have an opportunity to help out and get some perks along the way. So that's pretty cool. Is in that movie, is it like a full-length movie as well? I mean, is there
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about it. What's the movie about?
It's about this girl who's a rebellious teenager, and she finds out that she's adopted. She's from a very rich family, and so she sets out to go find her birth mother. And it kind of sounds boring, right? Okay, but on the way, she gets on this passenger bus, and it gets hijacked.
Oh.
And so I'm one of the hijackers, and so we basically hijack them, take them to a secluded place, and we start issuing out threats to the father. If we don't get the money, we're going to start, executing folks. And it's also about this girl's struggle. There's, I guess, in a way, you've heard, you've seen the scenario with the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. And so there's, I guess, the devil's advocates are on that bus, and there's also God's advocates on that bus. And you kind of wonder what she's going to choose, which route she's going to go. Is it going to strengthen her faith or break her faith? Or, it's kind of like that. But it's for a Christian film, which is that's what it is basically. It's not like any Christian film that's really out there, because this one will put you on the edge of your seat with some intense moments. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to give any spoilers out, but I will say that my character makes the character put his finger in his mouth and threatens to, if you don't bite your finger off, I'm going to blow your head off, kind of thing. So, I mean, there is some intense moments in this film. It's not a comedy at all.
Right. Yeah. That sounds. And it's funny you say, because I've noticed that a lot of films have a religious overtone to it, which I think is awesome. I mean, I think that's needed in films today. Some of them are pretty. We'll just say use the word raunchy, and that's what they are. It's nice to see some wholesome movies coming out, and I think that's important. So is that like, obviously, I would assume you're a very religious man? And you don't have to talk about faith and all that, and I don't mean to get into all that, and I apologize.
No, I have no problem talking about my belief. Yes, I am a Christian. I do serve Jesus Christ as my Savior. I know a lot of people don't believe that, but they're just wrong. But no, I'm just kidding. That's a little joke there. But no, I don't try to force my beliefs on anybody. I don't consider myself religious because I think God hates religion. I think the only thing God wants is a relationship, not religion. He wants a relationship with that person, because the Bible says the number of your hairs are numbered. He knows you. And all he wants us to do is to know him and to spend time with him. And he sent his son for us. So, I mean, that's where I stand. And I try to get that message out to the world. If you see it in Hollywood, there's a lot of celebrities. You always hear about celebrities killing themselves, taking their lives, or ODing on drugs. Yeah. Because they're trying to fill a gap. It don't matter how much money or fame that you have. It doesn't buy happiness. We're made with a void in our hearts that can only be filled by the one who created us. So there you go. That's my sermon.
Well, no, that's well said, and I have to agree with you. I actually feel the same way. So, so David, what else have you got going on? And do you have another movie down the lines, another Bigfoot movie, hopefully?
Possibly. It all depends on how the dice rolls. I actually have 4 other films that I really want to make. Mm-hmm. And one's kind of a wilderness survival film. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, The Edge, because it's kind of like that, but a totally different plot. But it does have a grizzly bear stalking some folks in it. So that one's going to be fun to make. I recently wrote one about it's kind of what I call is my Rocky, but it's not to do with boxing. It's more like mixed martial arts,
Sure.
It's kind of like a Rocky story in the MMA world, but with a little twist on it. That's another one I want to make. And so I have several. There's a film I want to make called Preacher Man, and I wrote this book called Model Maze, Case of the Golden Dagger, and I'm actually in the process of turning that into a screenplay. So it's the first time I've ever adapted a book into a screenplay, and if you like Harry Potter and stuff like that, it's kind of like along those same lines, but it doesn't have nothing to do with magic. But it kind of has that feel to it, you know. So I definitely have a lot of projects in the works, but all projects need one thing before they can be made. Do you know what that is?
That be money?
That'd be money, investors, and funding, yes.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you what, if any of our listeners are looking to invest and help create a movie, I'm sure Mr. Ford would be more than happy to talk to you about that. You can obviously look Mr. Ford up on Facebook, simply David Ford. He's been a great guy. He's been a great guest. And David, man, is there anything else you would like to plug, or something maybe we didn't talk about that you want to talk about, or anything?
Well, in regard to your last statement, my production company is called Saving Oscar Productions.
Okay.
And they can go, the website is savingoscar.com.
Uh-huh.
And if there's anybody interested in helping, donating, or even coming on as an investor, there's opportunities for every budget. You don't have to be rich to invest in a film, you know. So, and you can also learn about each film project. With each film project that I'm going to be doing is under the films, you know, and the tabs window of Saving Oscar. So if anybody wants to learn more about that, just go to that website.
Perfect. And of course, you know, Mr. Ford let you know that, you know, you can always call me if you need someone in the movie, and I'll come down and audition for you.
Yes, sir. Hey, it's always an open call, man.
Yeah, I'm sure you hear that about 100 times a day, right? I can act. Let me do it.
yeah, that's right. I tell people that too. I tell people on other productions, hey, that, you know, I can act.
Yeah, but you do have experience.
A little.
Hey, and that's actually an interesting question. I mean, when you do have the auditions like you did for the Sense of Urgency movie, when you have auditions, how do you cast it? I mean, what do you just put out a casting call, or is there a way you do that?
Well, on Sense of Urgency, we posted on a thing called Short Film Texas, and we posted there, and we posted also on Facebook. Posted on my page, and we also, you know, when we created the Facebook page for Sense of Urgency, we started making casting announcements there. You know, and it's kind of spreads that way, word of mouth. And there's also one other website we use. I can't remember the name of it. Was it Backstage? It could have been Backstage. But we had tons and tons and tons of actors applying. So it was a long, drawn-out process. And I really don't like being involved in the casting process. I'd rather leave that to a casting director from now on. But especially when you have friends involved, because you have a friend that you love to death, but they're just not pulling it off. You know, it makes it difficult. So that's what casting directors are for. They can be the bad guy.
Well, I guess that also gives you somebody to say, you have to talk to him. He's the one doing that. That's kind of gets it off your shoulders, and you don't look like the bad guy. I like that.
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't always go that way, but yeah, you're the producer. Don't give me that crap, you know. You can trump the casting director, but I'm not going to. You know, they're over that.
Yeah. I might know you. They don't. They have to get to know you. I get you.
Right. I just want the best people in the best parts. I mean, you know, nobody's giving me anything for free. You know,
absolutely.
Everybody has to work and earn their part. You know, I mean, I don't expect anybody to give me. You know, I audition all the time. You know, I do 20 video auditions a month, and I may do 100 video auditions before I even land a role. So you're going to get rejected 99.9% of the time. It's that one where you don't get rejected. You know, that's when you celebrate and keep going. You know. Absolutely.
That's awesome. So you've got Sense of Urgency, which you're working on now, which should be out hopefully pretty soon, depending on how the editing goes. You've got Something in the Woods that we've all watched, or not all of us, most of us have watched. If you haven't seen it yet, you definitely got to get this movie and watch it. It's a must-have in your collection. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they can see it. I don't know if you told them how to see it, but they can go to the website is www.sitwmovie.com.
Okay, and that's we'll put that on the screen, and that is www.sitw.com. Correct?
I'm sorry. Did I say that? I don't even know my own website. sitwmovie.com.
Oh, sitwmovie.com. And Dan, we're going to put that right across the screen right about now. Boom. Okay, there we go. We got that on the screen now. Make sure you go check out that website. And, if you haven't seen the movie yet or you don't own the movie, I'm telling you, I urge you, talk to your friends, see how they liked it, because I promise you they've seen it already. David, is there anything else, man? Have I forgotten anything? Is there anything else you want to talk about before we go?
Well, you forgot my address where you're going to mail me the $10,000 check for this.
Well,
I'd be nice, wouldn't it?
David, this is going to go back to that lesson you learned about signing contracts.
That's right. No, I think we've covered pretty much everything, man, and I really appreciate the opportunity you've given me.
Oh, man, we've enjoyed having you on.
Thank you.
Well, folks, make sure you tune in next time. We're actually going to have another movie maker coming out really soon, too. Next week, I'm talking to Mr. Seth Breedlove. He's going to be on the show talking about his movies as well. Another great producer, actor, filmmaker. Looking forward to talking to him as well. And then we're going to follow that up and get this last sit down with Wes and Woody out of the way. And we're actually going to have Wes and Woody Germer on the show to cover that last episode. So make sure you stay tuned. They're coming, guys. Mr. Ford, thank you, sir. And with that, we are out.